I know that because there's this little stop button up in the top.
Okay.
Okay, so my screen is being recorded right now.
Cool.
When I'm done, I can stop that. Okay, so let's get into Rhino here. I like working in metric. Our 3D printers, our laser cutters, and our CNC machines all like metric. And I think geometry is a lot easier when you're dividing by 10 instead of dividing by like quarters or eighths or sixteenths. So I like to stick with metric. I would recommend as you're building something new, consider using metric. If that's really weird for you, can I type and talk at the same time? No. If metric is really weird for you, we can sit down and talk about that. You have the benefit of me having taught math. I have a math degree. I taught math for 10 years. So we can have all the math geometry conversations if they're helpful for you. I'll try not to bore you with that, though. For right now, though, let's go template, small objects, millimeters. Mine is set to the default template, but if yours isn't, like you click on a new one, you can just click on that button to make it a default template. Even if you have a default template and you want to use something else, at any point back from standard templates, all you have to do is double click on the one, and it'll make you a new document with those constraints. So I'm going to double click, small objects, millimeters. What? Yeah, we're good. So the Rhino interface, if you've done any 3D modeling, how many of you used Inventor before? Autodesk Inventor. I spent a good time in Inventor. How about SketchUp? Any time in SketchUp? Okay. Other 3D modeling software at all? I used one in high school called Bryce. It was this like landscape modeling program. It was kind of cool. It takes a while to get used to the interface. It's super overwhelming. I want to go ahead and make one change right now to the interface here. So go to Rhinoceros, go to Preferences. I'm going to have you change your tool set a little bit. And the reason is most of the tutorials you find online will be for Windows. Rhino has existed as a product on Windows for over 25 years. It's only been a Mac product for just over a year now. So under Preferences, go to Themes. It's this little musical score icon down here, Themes. And then instead of Rhino for Mac, select Rhino for Windows.
Okay, wait.
Okay, so I'll go back. You go to Rhino, go to Preferences. Should be near the top of that Rhinoceros menu. And then go to Themes. Set an alarm for 11:05.
I've set an alarm for 11:05 a.m.
I'm going to switch it to Rhino for Windows. And then you have to actually make a new one to show the changes. So I'm going to go File, New using Template, and make sure I select my small objects, millimeters again. And you'll see my interface change. I'm going to leave them both open here for a second so you can see the difference. On top, you got Rhino for Mac. Much simpler, a lot fewer buttons. The Rhino for Windows just puts icons and buttons and tabs everywhere. I learned how to use Rhino by doing that, so that's when you look at my tutorials, that's how the window is going to be set up. But you can always switch back and forth based on your tutorial. You'll see pretty quickly that I end up typing in my commands far more often than I find the little icon because text entry works really well for me. So you can use the interface in a lot of different ways. I'm going to demo a lot of text interface. You have 4 different views. Don't follow along. I just want to show you something real quick. So 4 different views. I've got what's called the top view. That allows me to draw on that particular construction plane. I've got the front view, which allows me to draw. Now watch, as I'm drawing in the front construction plane, you're watching it animate in all the other planes. I've got the front view, right? So I'm drawing in 3 dimensions here. And then I've got the right view. So I can make half of a cube right here. Okay. We'll get into the details of construction planes pretty quickly, but the depth you're drawing at can get super confusing. Like I think I'm drawing right on the surface of an object, and it's quite literally drawing like way off in the other direction. And that will get super frustrating. So those videos that I did where I'm talking about it, I kind of get into C-planes a little bit. It's worth looking at. I'm going to go back though. I'm going to delete a couple things. Why don't we actually start over? Let's make a rectangle together. So in here somewhere, I think it's under standard, and then I think it's that one. It looks like a rectangle. I think that's the rectangle button.
Yeah.
That's actually not what I do to get rectangles. I like to go right to the keyboard. I know I want a rectangle, so I'm going to start typing that word. And it's going to autocomplete for me. It says, oh, you want a rectangle? Yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead and hit return. That's the same thing as hitting the rectangle button.
Right.
Okay. It knows I'm ready to draw a rectangle. I could go to the top view, perspective view, right view, or front view to draw it. You can actually start drawing in one view, and before you're done, finish it in another view, which is kind of crazy. That takes a little getting used to. But for right now, I'm going to go to the top view, and I just want to draw a square, 10 by 10. Will you do that too?
Hold on. How do you do it as a 10 by 10? What do you do?
I'm following the grid lines. 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters.
How do you get it snapped to the center?
Pretty happy you found this.
What are you snapping to the center for?
Well, kind of like the cross between here to get it lined up.
Oh, got it. So if you have, it should grid snap. Turn on grid snap.
Okay.
And then it should click down to the origin. Did that do it?
Yes.
Okay. So there's our 10 by 10. You can draw your other rectangles in the other views if you like I just did. Or I can show you the cooler way to do the whole thing. Let's talk about navigating the viewports here. Notice how I'm just rotating and flipping this thing around.
Which is fun to do.
Let me show you how this works. Gosh dang it. Apparently I don't have admin access to your computer, so I can't help you right now. I don't know what that means. So you're going to have to watch. Sorry. That sucks. Okay. Navigating the viewports. At any point, if you want to just look at one of the views, just double-click on the name of that view. It makes it full size. Okay. Double-click in, double-click out. 2 fingers and the Shift key are all you need to navigate. So if I want to do that orbit where I'm kind of rotating the world around, that's just 2 fingers, and I'm moving it around. Okay, just 2 fingers down. Don't get caught in the trap where your 2 fingers are right next to each other. You got to spread them out a little bit on the trackpad. Okay, so it's 2 fingers rolling around. If I'd like to zoom, it's the pinch move, right? So fingers together, spread apart. That'll zoom in. Pinch back down, that'll zoom out. Okay. And now what if you get something like this where the thing you're looking at is kind of out of your screen? You need to move it back in. That's called the pan. That's where you hold Shift and then 2 fingers move it back over. So very quickly I can get a view that's weird, kind of out of the way, and I can zoom back out, I can rotate it back around, and then I can kind of pan it to where I want it to be. That'll take some practice. Okay. Let's delete those other 2 squares. So let's just have this square on the bottom C-plane here. And let's make our first solid object. Under the Solid Tools menu, it's this tab up here near the top, Solid Tools. Solid Tools.
I don't have that.
You're on Rhino for Mac, probably. So what you can do is actually start typing. The button I'm looking for is right here. When you hover over, it tells you the command is called extrude. So you can just start typing extrude. EXT. And then you get lots of options. I actually want the last one, extrude curve. And then Rhino's going to ask you a series of questions on these functions. First one is, which curve do you want? So I'm going to click on it. When I'm done, after I'm done selecting curves, I'm going to say, hit return. And then it asks you an extrusion distance. And here's what's great. Notice my cursor is in the top right view. If I want to move into one of the other views, I can do that right now. Maybe more accurately control that distance. Because maybe I want it taller or farther down than the perspective view is showing me right now. You also, while this is selected, can zoom in and zoom out without affecting this thing. So you have tons of control here. I want it to be a cube, so I'm going to go up to this corner, make it a cube. the next thing people want to do is, great, how do I make it solid? And the answer is it actually already is solid. If you, on the Mac, right-click is with 2 fingers. So 2-finger click down on the background. You get this pop-up menu. Will you take a minute and play around with these different shading options and find one that fills it in for you? Just take a minute and play with it. Glenn might be able to get you in. I don't know what's wrong with my password. Some of these computers that they've set up, I had one yesterday that I did not have admin access to. I'm supposed to have admin access to all of them, and I'm not sure what's going on. So I would start with Glenn. If Glenn doesn't know, then I would go right to Karen, because that's actually what I have to do. I don't have a password, so technology has to be involved in that. So I would, you're welcome to stay and watch if that's helpful. If that's too frustrating or not useful, go work on something else. You totally decide whatever you want to do with me.
This is my.
Sorry. What's up? Oh yeah. Okay. And then it will ask you for.
It's not what the fully beer.
I'm guessing you downloaded the full version. No, you didn't. Need this. So we'll just copy that key.
Mine has like a hole in it. Like it's not really shaded in all the way.
Oh yeah. I'll show you. Just put your name, whatever organization you want, and hit that. And then you should be up and running. What do you want to do? Sure, I want you to learn Rhino, and I'm not under a time constraint. I really want you to get you into Rhino. So, if we want to buy a few days because we ought to get this figured out, I'm cool with that. Okay. All right, so I like the shaded view. It renders quickly. I can see some basic lighting, and it shows that the thing is solid. There's also the pen view, which looks kind of cool, especially with more complex models. It's a really stark contrast. Some people like the X-ray view, where you can kind of see through solid objects. You'll have a chance to play with those.
It's not one to render as a solid.
Yours might not be a solid. Yours won't what? Were you able to draw the square? Perfect, but you couldn't extrude the thing up.
Okay, so let's.
So I'll go through the extrude again real quick.
Standard. Let's get this cube back up. So tools. Extrude.
All right, so starting from your square, you got that?
It's not even letting me keep it on
The square?
there. Okay, so I got it.
Okay.
The command bar thing, I type in extrude. And it's the CRV one.
Yep, and then you click enter.
Oh, I got it. Cool. Okay.
And then you click on your square. Did it let you click on your square?
So, but it looks good.
Cool.
I don't know what it's doing.
Alright. Sorry, man. That's got to be frustrating. Appreciate your patience. Okay. And maybe we need to swap you out. I mean,
Let's disconnect you.
talk to Karen about that, would you? Okay. And tell her I don't have admin access either, if you will. All right. Just a couple more things I want to talk about. Again, the point of our... Will you grab the door when you go, James? Just because it's getting noisy. Thank you. Not expecting us to make you into experts here this first day. Can we get the door, please? Can somebody get the door? The door, please. Thank you. Just really want to introduce you to the workspace. That's it. Just to get you an idea of it's possible to draw things in 3 dimensions. It's going to take a lot of work. There are other tools I would totally encourage you to explore, like there's this chamfer tool, which is kind of cool. You can go ahead and round your edges off, which is interesting. That one's actually too big, so I need to make something smaller, like 5. And you can chain edges, so I can very quickly like select my edges and do this cool rotation thing. Like you can make complex geometries very, very, very quickly. You just have to see what's possible. And so some of the demo videos that I have will make that possible for you. Let me show you a couple other things. Is Gumball selected for you?
Yes.
If it isn't, will you go ahead and select it? I want to show you how to use Gumball to do actually quite a bit. Most of what we've done you can actually do all through a single tool.
Okay.
And then for this, I'm going to go ahead and double click on perspective. So I'm just looking at the perspective view. Okay. If Gumball is turned on, then when you click on an object, you're going to see this big green, blue, red thing. That whole tool with all those pieces is called the Gumball. Clicking on its different components, you can see, oh, when you click on an arc, you can rotate. You can rotate around all the particular axes. Click on an arrow, you can move it along an axis. Right? You actually can make copies. So if you hold Option and drag, I just made a copy of a thing. Take a minute and just play with the Gumball tool.
That is so cool.
Great. How do you make a copy?
Press.
Hold Command, or hold Option, yeah.
Option. And then get one of these points and then move it.
Oh,
The blue is for the
oh, I just made it extremely big.
And I just froze Rhino.
You froze right now.
I sure did. It's back though, it's back.
Whoopsie.
Cool. Okay.
Made a big cube.
Nice. All right, you also can scale. So if you click on these boxes here, I can stretch it in this direction, stretch it in that direction. Or you can, I believe, stretch in all 3 directions at once. I don't know if I remember how to do that.
Would it be going like at the corner?
Oh, no, I can't. Maybe it was holding Option. I don't know. There's a way to do that. I want to show you one last thing, because making multiple copies can allow you to create really interesting geometry really quickly. Up here in the Transform menu, we've got a lot of really interesting options. Move, copy, rotate, rotate 3D, all these sorts of things. We actually use the mirror command quite a lot. Like if you want to make a copy of a thing, check this mirror command out. So go mirror. It says, what do you want to mirror? I say, I want that thing. And then you have to draw a line you want to mirror across. So I'm going to mirror across that line. I just made one up.
So you just make a line.
Just draw a line and it makes a mirror copy. You can make really complex geometries and then just mirror them across. My favorite one is called the polar array. So what I want to do is make a center, because I'm going to rotate copies all the way around. So let me go back to my top view. And then I'm going to draw a circle. I'm just going to type circle, because that's how I get to my commands. And right now, you can see up in the top left, grid snap is on. That's going to snap to all these little individual intersections. I think that'll work. I'm just going to make a circle right there. So for me, visually, it helps to draw the circle. If I'm going to make copies around, I'm imagining these cubes I'm going to draw are going to all sort of rotate around that center object. The truth is, the circle is going to give me the center point, and that's all I really need. So I've got a circle. I'm going to go switch to the top view here and zoom out a little bit. And then I'm going to go back to the Transform menu. This time, I'm going to go to Array and select Polar. Then which objects are you going to make copies of? So there's the square or the cube. And then where are you going to rotate around? Notice, if I go to my circle, it may or may not be able to find the center. But I know every circle has a center. So over here on the bottom left, these are snapping tools that help you find locations. And you can change them on every object. I'm going to select the center. They're called O-snaps. And make sure it actually identifies the center of the circle. But when I go to the center, it's not telling me that's the center. The weird thing about circles is you go to the edge, and it draws a radius and says, oh, do you mean the center? Like, yes, I mean the center. Thank you. So I'm going to click down. And then I need to decide how many copies I want. I'm going to say 8 total. It gives you a preview of what this thing's going to look like when it's rotated around. And then it finalizes it. So you can see I very quickly made 8 copies that have been rotated around the center of that circle. It's kind of cool. So here's my favorite part about this software. Right now, I could 3D print those. Right now. Save the file, go right to the 3D printer. Right now, I could laser cut those. Now, you're going to have thickness issues, right? Because you can't laser cut through something that thick. But we can handle that in the laser cutter. You could stack multiple objects. And we can go right to the CNC machine. So putting a really powerful tool in your hands, quite possibly the most powerful piece of software you've ever used, quite possibly, allows us to go from, I have this idea, to a product in your hand really quickly. Here's the way we're going to require that you use it in this semester. When you want to build things that are supposed to fit together, and you'll be doing some of that for us, before you're allowed to cut them out using any of our machines, we're going to ask that you show us that you've measured them correctly and that they actually fit together inside of Rhino. So if you prove to me, like you're going to make joints, right? The simplest explanation example is a box, right? You make a box where the joints are supposed to fit together. You're going to show us that you've measured your thickness of your material, that you can make the box fit perfectly inside a Rhino, and then we'll let you cut it out. Same for the CNC machine and same for the 3D printers. It's going to take a while to get used to Rhino. We encourage you to go back to the resources. We dropped actually another resource card on the...
How did you get that array again?
I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
I dropped another resource card. Actually, maybe I didn't. Let me do that right now. Maybe if Trello will agree with me.
So we're gonna have to build those 2 things underneath right
Yeah, there's 3 of them actually.
now? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
It's gonna take me a while.
It is going to take a while, and I'm totally fine with that. What I need is I need to see progress, honestly. If at any point in this class, if you're making progress and showing me that when I check in you're getting better, I'm going to be happy. We're going to have issues where you're just not even starting and trying. We're going to have to figure out some other plan so that you can find success. And this is super daunting. Like asking you to do this is friggin' hard. I don't know where that resource card went. I got to find it. There's some other cool tutorials. This guy posted one. Gosh dang it. I don't know where it went. This guy posted one where he actually goes from a concept sketch on a piece of paper all the way to finished glasses that he renders in like an hour and a half, and he explains all the way through how he built it. I could not do that in an hour and a half. It's pretty amazing. But those videos will be very, very helpful. And then, as always, if you want to sit down next to me, you got your computer, I got mine, and we do 3D modeling together, I'd love that. This is stuff that I actually really love doing, so it'd be really fun to help with that. And then, as always, collaborating with students. What you'll find right now is that a lot of people are still using SketchUp. We're trying to aggressively move them over to Rhino. So far, kids who have done the most 3D modeling, as they've started to transition to Rhino, are really excited about it. So I think it's going to catch on pretty quickly. Rick and Diane are actually going to use it in their science class this semester. So that's going to help it catch on even more quickly. So we're all, as an organization, we're going to learn together pretty fast, I think. And then if you learn cool things, will you just share them, please, as always? You learn a new way to do something. I think the last thing I would say is this. As you watch me do the videos, and if you have no idea where to start, watch me. Do the videos. I'm not efficient, and I'm never going to apologize for that. I build things in a really roundabout, weird kind of way that makes sense to me. So if you're finding yourself looking at me, watching me build these things and thinking, well, wouldn't it have been easier to just do this? You're probably always right. Like, I make things way harder than they need to be. Don't be discouraged by that. Be encouraged that you have other ideas about how to build more efficiently. That's a good thing, not a bad thing, as long as you can be patient with me as you watch me fumble through these things. So I think that was it. Ask tons of questions. Reach out on Slack. Talk to me in person. And we'll just keep getting better. I will put a deadline on build 1. I'll assign a deadline sometime this week. I don't know, based on how much work is happening right now, when it's reasonable to have that first one done. But I'm guessing it's going to be next week at the earliest for all of you. Because there's a lot of learning that has to happen before you can actually take a screencast and submit it. Okay. I did a screencast of this.